Hey everyone, welcome to the stream! Ooh, I had a big day yesterday. My partner and I actually got out of the house and went out on the town for most of yesterday, and it was a lot of fun. I don't do enough going out and getting out of the house and just driving around for shits and giggles. We just went shopping. There's a local retro game store we have in the area. Surprisingly not great selection, which I was a little bummed out about, but it was good to go and see it again. And good to go out and see some other stuff. Picked up the Tetris board game, fittingly enough, but it's alright. It's fun to play solo, it's fun to play with a few people, it's also very, like, siloed. You can't really do a lot to mess with other people. It's mostly just you're playing as best as you can on your own terms. I guess it's kind of like Tetris, but Tetris also has garbage. And at that point, if you add garbage into a board game, why not just play Tetris? So, the reason I was able to get out of the house and drive again, the reason I have been streaming so much again, I think I've narrowed it down, and it's an experiment that I did. So, y'all know that I have anxiety disorder. It's no secret. I'm very open about this and my other mental health struggles. But I've learned some interesting things about how it affects me in particular, and some other health conditions that affect me in particular, and so I made one tiny little change to my home environment. All I did was raise the legs of my bed a couple of inches up at the head where my pillow is. That's it. And ever since then, I've been sleeping fucking amazing, and I've been less anxious and much more happy and have much more energy, and I'm able to actually do things again. So, what's up with that? Well, so I think it's POTS, which is a circulation problem where your body has trouble regulating your blood circulation through different parts of your body, depending on if you hold them in different positions or whatever. One of the classic signs of it is that sometimes if you stand up too fast, you start to see spots in your eyes, start to see stars. And when I was first introduced to that idea, that symptom, my mom was the one to tell me, no, that's normal, everybody deals with that. And it wasn't until years later, stumbling across a post on the internet, that I realized, no, actually, that's not normal. It's a symptom of a larger problem. And that larger problem is also a major contributor to anxiety disorder. And it's a reason that, like, I've tried all sorts of medications, I've tried all sorts of sleep studies and therapies and all sorts of shit over the years, and all of them helped in little bits and pieces, but nothing has had such a profound effect on my psyche as just raising the head of my bed a couple of inches. And now I'm fucking flying all over the place, bouncing off of the walls and doing all sorts of shit that I've been meaning to do for years and years, like finally streaming Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. It's amazing what this one little change did for me, and God, I wish I could recommend it to everyone, but everybody's body is built differently, and it may not work for a bunch of people. But hey, I wanted to pass on that wisdom because that's something that's had a major effect on my life, and maybe it'll help someone else. I'd like to say hi to Apple and Iblue and Satan-sama 100. Hello. Welcome, one and all. Iblue says, oh really? Sometimes I get dizzy when I stand up and have to lean over and support myself on something for a few seconds. You might try raising the head of your bed to a few inches then. Because that's helped me a lot. It's helped me get much better sleep, it's helped me be less anxious. Apple says, anytime my mom tells me everyone deals with that, I don't believe her. I'm starting to get to that point myself, like, anything that I've been told that, like, oh, these weird pops and whistles that your your body makes are just normal. No, all of them have a underlying reason, and not all of them are signs of some major thing. I don't have cancer, but as much as my medical anxiety will tell me that I do. No, not all of these things are major, but all of them have a cause. And yes, a lot of them can be normal, but also some of them can be signs of greater things, and if you, like me, have trouble with circulation, you stand up and you feel a little dizzy, or you start seeing stars or something along those lines, every once in a while, just every once in a while. Another one that affected me was when I went to blow my nose, I would blow too hard and I'd start to see stars there too. All of that's symptoms of the same thing. The specific condition is POTS. It's an acronym. I know it spells POTS. I still don't know enough about it to be totally clear, but I just know it has a major effect on anxiety. So, maybe something worth looking into sometime. Apple says about her mom. She doesn't have a PhD, she just has haircut knowledge. I mean, look, you learn some things in life just by experience, just by living life and having to live with these things and realizing actually they're not going to kill you. I've had to learn a lot of things like that the hard way myself. Also, there's no substitute for expertise. You may have experience, but that doesn't mean you know everything. And lived experience is good, but sometimes you mistake one thing for another. I mean, maybe POTS, maybe this isn't POTS for me specifically. It probably is. But maybe it isn't. Maybe it's sleep apnea. Another way that you can help sleep apnea and make that a little better for yourself is raising the head of your bed a couple of inches. So maybe it's that instead. But it probably isn't. All the signs are there. Maybe it's a combination of both. Who knows? You can't claim to know everything. Even with lived experience and living up to 40 years old or however much people start saying, yes, they know everything. You know what I mean. Being an adult's freaking weird. I was all excited to talk on Chatterbox, and I feel like I've talked myself out already. No, that can't be right. There's gotta be something else I wanted to talk about too, isn't there? Well, Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. I was supposed to stream this game at launch. That was my plan. I made a whole big deal about it. I rearranged my stream setup so that I could do it. And then that fell through for some mysterious reasons that I don't totally remember. I know I had technical issues with my setup, and I'm sure at the time I wasn't sleeping super well, and that's when I still had, that's when my mom still lived with me. So just all of that combined probably is why I didn't get to stream it at the time. But here we are 2.5 years later, and I'm finally fulfilling a promise I made to myself to stream this game. This whole time, I haven't let myself play the story mode, so I'm going into this blind. I've heard variously it's not as good as the first one. The first one was a fantastic stream, though. It's one of my favorites of 2017. So getting to come back and revisit this again is going to be really comfy and lovely. Lexi says, raises chat by a couple of inches. Maybe I should do that. Just the window here. Zoop. There you go. Now all of y'all should get slightly better sleep. Apple says, you're finally streaming doo-doo! Oh my god, don't remind me. I know this game's technical issues exist, especially on the Switch version, which is what we're playing today, but they patched it a little bit, so it's not so bad, hopefully. Apple also says, but I actually prefer this game's story. Interesting, okay. I've heard it can be back and forth, mixed for some people, but we'll see how it goes. Apple also says, regarding mental health stuff, I believe what my heart tells me, and my heart tells me that the random pain I feel is actually super COVID. You and me both. It's either super COVID or it's brain cancer. It can't be anything benign. Performance is basically fixed, 100%, shouldn't be a worry. That's wild to me. I still can't believe that in the intervening time between 1 and 2, they remade the entire fucking game in Hedgehog Engine 2. Yes, they made this 2D game run in Hedgehog Engine for some fucking reason that nobody can make sense of. Maybe it was just to make it easy to port to multiple platforms. I don't know. But it's still fucking weird that they remade the whole game in what is ostensibly a 3D engine? I mean, the first game was old code base. That's fine. Whatever. They probably don't want to use the same old code base for that. But the way that they remade the game in Hedgehog Engine 2 looks nearly identical, and if you weren't told that the game was remade in Hedgehog Engine 2, you'd probably just think it was a sequel to the same game in the same engine with slightly new content. All the menus look pretty much the same, all the gameplay looks pretty much the same, there's some new cut-ins and stuff. But no, they completely redid the engine from the ground up. They did that for Splatoon 3 as well. That's in a new engine too, so I've heard. It uses a different physics engine than Splatoon 2 and 1 did. Or at least than Splatoon 2 did. I don't know about 1. 2D engines kind of don't exist anymore. That's true, because of how graphics cards work. You can kind of just run things on graphics cards these days. Technology is incredible. You can make software that runs like shit. What's the exact fucking idea of that is that every gain made in computers and performance has been outweighed by the people who make code for it not having to work as hard on optimization, or just not working hard on optimization at all. Hi, Electron. Electron.jpg is definitely URL, thanks Twitch. Splatoon 3 is so close to identical to Splatoon 2, yet it also has so many minor differences, I weep. It's so baffling that the game is so similar, that they got it to look almost exactly the same in this new engine, but also it's a completely new engine. I feel like this is something that happens a lot in games these days, is that they make their next game in the next big engine for the next big console, because games take like 5 years to develop now. And the console cycle is about 5 years now. Or it always has been. But Switch has lasted 7 years. I heard that might change next year. But yeah, it's baffling. I was just talking about this with my partner last night, talking about the yearly release cycle of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater for the first, like, 9 years of its existence. And a couple of Tony Hawk games that I had never heard of. Hi, Tony Hawk's Project 8. Did you exist before yesterday? Because I've never heard of you. But seriously, there were more games back then that reused the same engine and added new content to them, and had a turnaround time of about a year. Now, obviously that's impossible these days, because games are harder to make. But if you took the same engine and kept building on that, instead of remaking the engine from the ground up in a new fucking code base each time that you redid it, surely you could make a series that you could do 2 or 3 year releases instead of each new game taking 5 and having to be bigger and badder and better than the rest? Oh, that's right, when you add content to the same engine, it's called DLC these days, my bad. Tony Hawk's Project 8 sounds like a very early working title, LMAO. It does, and apparently the story behind that is that's exactly what it was called, and they leaned into it. Apparently, in-universe, Tony Hawk holds some competition to be the next big pro skater, and he chooses 8 contestants. So then it's run like a reality show, and that's where the project name ties into the actual in-universe name. It's kind of fucking weird, and I heard it wasn't really well received. But hey, props to them for leaning in on it. The Switch should last forever, and we should go back to the PS3 and Xbox 360, actually. So true, Apple. So true. Oh, but then we have to go back to things not running at 60 anymore. Ugh. Things don't run at 60 anymore anyway. At least they run a stable 30. But now they've got, like, performance mode and cinematic mode, where it runs at 4K 30 or 1080p 60, and you get to choose between the two. It's fucking weird! Game development is weird these days. I'm just glad they're able to get the games out. I know game development is a fucking miracle. It is a miracle that a game ever gets made, period. Okay, that's enough music and chatterboxing. Let's go play some actual videos game.